friends, Jewel back with another super cool astrology video. And I wanted to talk today about dependency issues and codependency issues and where those spring from and what is it really at the base of that, and start my series on how to tackle those issues, how to get past those issues, boundary issues, sensitivity issues, those types of things. So when we're talking about boundaries and talking about dependency, they're very linked because dependency issues, codependency issues really show a lack of boundaries, and that's where a lot of us get hung up. We have awareness that we're doing this, but we don't know how to stop it or where it's coming from, or we need more information about how to deal with this. And so, when we have boundary problems, it shows up very much as saying yes when you mean no. Having others' feelings mean more to us than our own. Rescuing behaviors. We aren't honest about who we are or about what we feel because we're afraid of what other people think. The opinions of others really form how we feel and how we feel about ourselves, how we orient ourselves in the world. And so there's, many different alignments and combinations of planets that can create these tendencies. Most of the time, these are going to be linked to Neptune, 12th house, Pisces. In conjunctions are also going to put somebody in this kind of frame of mind because they tend to be very difficult on one's confidence level. And the confidence is very much something that needs to be addressed when we're talking about dependency types of behaviors. So there is a lack of skills in being able to show up in an authentic way when we have dependency type thinking or, boundary issues. The thing is, what's at the real root of it is that we are very disconnected from our feelings when we are in that place, when we don't know what is what, or we have a hard time making up our mind, or we're letting people in our space that are not good for us, or we're acting in ways that are compulsively helpful. We are not in touch with our feelings when we are not in touch with our boundaries. They go hand in hand because your boundaries are formed by your feelings. And if you don't know what your feelings are, or you have disconnected from them or denied them, if you aren't feeling, you are not able to make a boundary, because our feelings are always legitimate. They are our compass. When we have detached from that, we have detached from our direction. So it's easy for other people to set our direction because we don't have an internal compass anymore. We're looking for an external compass. And that's a very scary place to be because it doesn't take us into account at all. We become what everybody else wants us to be, or what we think they want us to be. And there is no us. We don't exist. And we never show up in our relationships. So we detached early on out of a need, out of a survival, out of maybe that was the style that we learned. But there was a need to leave our feelings behind or deny that in some fashion. So we put up a false self because that was acceptable. And this is what we learned to be. It's exhausting to do this. And everybody in the world does this to some degree. Everybody in the world has some issue with authenticity. That's part of the human condition. When it is a major imbalance, we see codependency, dependency, escapism, boundary issues. So it's extremely important to realize that that stems from a lack of feeling, and that comes from that early experience of emotional detachment. So when we do that, when we're detached from the self, it creates a loneliness, a guilt, a shame, because we have really abandoned ourselves. And we keep doing that when we rescue others, or we go out of our way, or we say no when we mean yes, or yes when we mean no, or we have sex when we don't want to. When we let others cross our boundaries because we aren't feeling, because we aren't in touch with that, that's a self-violation all over again. So it leaves us with a sense of we can't trust ourselves because we're always abandoning and going to the rescue of others. And it gives us a sense of we're not worthy of our own care or our own attention. So there is a constant sense of insecurity. And we think that we're making our security through our behavior, but it's a very self-defeating way that we go about it. So we have to give legitimacy to our feelings. We have to give them a place of understanding that that is real. What we feel, that is real. What we want comes from being in touch with our feelings. And if you're, finding this video really resonates with you, you probably don't even know what you want because you don't know what you feel. And in my next couple series, I will be talking specifically about how to start feeling again, how to get in contact with that, how to know what you want, how to get past indecision, all those things that come from these issues of dependent thinking, dependent behavior. So this reality is a three-dimensional reality. Yes, the universe is an interconnected universe where there are no boundaries, there are no, we all mesh into each other. It's a very different experience. The thing is, we don't live in that reality. We live in this reality. This reality, we are charged with feeling. That is our orientation in the world, is feelings. So when we feel, we are participating in life. And our boundaries come from that and create who we are in this three-dimensional reality. We have to live in a state of separateness because that is what we are learning from on this life plane. So yes, Neptunians, it's beautiful to have a view of the other world, but it is not appropriate to live in that style in this world because we are charged with living in three-dimensional reality. So you have to make an identity, you have to accept that, you have to be in touch with your feelings, you have to learn how to sit with that, you have to learn how to deal with that if you're going to transcend the identity. You have to make the things of Neptune real in order to make them real. And when we have touch, when we're in touch with our feelings, that's who we are. We're in touch with our soul, our self. That is our link to higher self. Our feelings are our link to the higher self. That is our link to the all-knowing. And so your feelings can't be wrong. They are your subjective compass. Nobody else's reality is going to be yours. Nobody else is going to be able to completely understand what you are going through. And so your unique feelings are your unique compass, and it may not look like anybody else's. And that's the responsibility factor that comes in, is we have to learn to take responsibility for our feelings. And most of us did not get that opportunity to develop that skill early in life. For whatever reason, you can see that with the alignments, what the particular story was behind that. But we are entitled to our perceptions and our views. We are entitled to the feelings that create that. And so, I'm sorry, there's a Pomeranian under the bed here who's just come to life. He's starting to feel his feelings. So we can't trust another's perceptions or views because they are based on their compass, their feelings. Our views are so unique because we're the only ones who live inside ourselves. And so what feels right is right. We know a boundary's been crossed because it feels bad, or it feels wrong. It makes us feel sick inside. It makes us feel bad about ourselves. That's the clue. That's the feedback from the soul, the higher self, that says something's not right here. We need to do a reevaluation. And so it's when we learn to trust, to feel our feelings, to trust those feelings, because we've learned to give them legitimacy and give them a place and have them be recognized as a force within us of rightness and goodness. That is when we find our boundaries become effortless, because we have become in contact fully with ourselves. So you want to make your higher self come into the three-dimensional world? You want to see what that looks like? Get in contact with your feelings. That's how you get in contact with your soul. If you are denying your feelings, you are denying your soul. This is really important to understand. The higher self is your feelings. And so when we don't have connection to that, we are cut off from that. So reconnection to higher self is reconnection to feeling. That's connection to others, because when we have connection to the self, this is when we can connect to others. Because intimacy is really based on showing who we truly are and making that, it's into me see, intimacy into me see. We have to let other people make that intimate connection through seeing our authentic somethings. When we share that part of us, that creates that trust, that creates that bond, that creates that intimacy, that creates that connection, that creates that sense that we are tribally connected, that we're interconnected. That's what we're looking for through the misbehavior of dependency. So by becoming in contact with your feelings, sitting with that, accepting that, being that, living that, this creates a value system that other people just recognize because they know who we are. We're wearing our values. We're being that. We're being honest about our feelings. We're having integrity, which we didn't have before. So when we're able to wear those values, this keeps people out of our sphere that are not appropriately, emotionally, or energetically vibrating with us. It weeds out the inappropriate people that we shouldn't have in our life, where we're experiencing dependency type of dynamics in our life and in our thinking, our behavior. We're inviting everybody in. We're inviting people who are blood suckers, soul suckers, emotion suckers, money suckers. They just stay out when we are living our truth. So it becomes an effortless way of living. It's not exhausting, where it is when we're having to be so conscious about who and what we are and what this person thinks, and we have to do this. It's a reactive. We're always reacting. It's a reactive way of living. It's exhausting. We are not in control. And so we take that back by reconnecting to self, by simply feeling and giving that legitimacy, following those feelings, become a Jedi. So we go from being somebody that doesn't, is paranoid to make decisions and doesn't know what this is and doesn't know if they should end this relationship and what should I do here, to somebody that feels it, knows it, does it. End of story. So our skills, they blossom because our self-care is where it should be. And when you can love yourself and when you accept and respect yourself and you're connected to self, this is when we can love another. It's true in psychology. You hear it all the time. You can't love yourself and you can't love another until you love yourself. It's very, very true. You have to be connected to self if you're going to be brave enough to enter into real intimacy with another. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find more videos on my playlist regarding similar things, and I'll be adding more in the very near future about this series. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com. Yes, I do private consultation. You can find me on Facebook at Truth and Aspect Astrology, and I will be back super, super soon. Bye-bye.